Okay, it is 4 o'clock. I am Wendy Parker. I am the new executive director of UASA. Thank you all for joining our laundry room this afternoon. Hopefully, we'll meet all of you in the future face to face and maybe on future laundry rooms. But thank you for joining us. This is Diversifying Your Revenues, and I'm going to turn it over to David Oliva, who's kind of going to lead this and probably have a few of you speak as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. So everyone, so you're all familiar with the laundry room format. If you're not, the general idea is that we'll discuss a general topic. I'll have some ideas that we can talk about, and then it should be an interactive discussion where everybody here can participate, give their ideas, feedback, and we can all sort of play off of each other. That's typically how we work this. So the topic that we wanted to talk about today was diversifying your revenue. So everybody here is involved in residential appliance service, which is what we all do primarily. So one of the things that we thought was an interesting topic is the possibility for new avenues that we can explore. Whether it's appliance sales or installation, maybe commercial service or maintenance plans. I kind of want to just start with that stuff, and if anybody wants to jump in and share their experiences, we can certainly do that. So one of the things, one of the reasons why I thought it was important to discuss this topic is to first say, what does the future of this industry look like for residential service? And is there a need to look outside of what we're doing to maybe make our businesses a little bit stronger and add some other possible sources of revenue besides just residential repairs? So we've personally, in my business, we've started doing some commercial work. That was one of our plans starting last year, was to get involved in the commercial side of the business, which is it's similar, but it's a little bit different. The margins are better. You can usually get a higher price for the repairs, but it's a different scenario, different machines, different type of technician. Typically, as anybody else doing commercial service currently? Is that anything anybody's doing? I know there were a couple people who were jumping on that were going to do it. I know Kate.
Yep.
Kate, your company does commercial.
We do.
Yeah. So how have you seen the difference between residential and commercial, just as a high level view?
There's a couple of differences. One, you're not going to have the technical resources in the same way, for sure. As a technician, it's quite different. You have to stock a lot more, or you have to have a lot larger of a van than you would normally have in a residential setting. The customers have very different expectations. It has to be more like an HVAC type of scenario where you have to have a response time. Some clients have a requirement where you have to be there within 3 hours, or you have a requirement within 24 hours. It has to, so there's different things when it comes to that. Or you have to have emergency services, so they can call you if something's down. So the expectations of clients are different. You also have different kind of billing practices. So you're not going to get the standard, COD credit card situations. A lot of customers, they're not going to have a credit card, or you have to go through a billing department, or they want to be set up as a billing account. So you're going to have different requirements there. You also have legal and insurance requirements that are going to be very different. So if you can't afford a $5 million insurance policy, don't go into commercial because that's a lot of the buildings or a lot of the clients require that before they're ever going to partner with you.
Yeah, we've found that. We haven't run across too many 5 million, but their typically requirements are higher than regular residential. One of the things that I'm finding interesting is the commercial shares a lot with the high-end residential service in the fact that you do have to sometimes have higher requirements. The expectations for service are different. So there's some similarities between the high-end service, which I thought was kind of interesting. you'd put in the chat what happens to our industry during recession, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this, because what can we do to to help ourselves if there is a recession? And it seems that traditionally this business has been sort of recession proof because people have to have their refrigerator fixed, and always kind of joke like if it's so bad that people aren't fixing their refrigerators, we kind of got bigger problems than worrying about how we're going to pay the insurance bill. But does anybody else have anything they're doing besides those two things, or commercial, or what else are you guys doing to diversify besides just straight residential service? Anybody selling parts or new machines or anything like that?
Hey, David, I would just add one thing on the commercial side that's got me a little bit nervous. Is it's really in the news here in Michigan, where the economy has generally been pretty strong, that we're seeing restaurant after restaurant after restaurant closing. I think in the past 3 weeks, I bet I've heard of over 12 to 15 restaurants in the area closing, and these aren't just restaurants that are just 1 year and closing. These are 3 to 5 years. So that, from my end, that makes me a little bit more nervous when it comes to getting into the commercial. And one of the things Kate said about not having that credit card up front, I still feel like from my end that I'd want to still continue that practice we use with our commercial tenant landlord situations, because they're literally open one day, close the next, and that would make me really nervous, especially if we had a pretty high outstanding bill.
Yeah, that's definitely something we run into. There's a lot of customers where, it's the manager on site that's calling in, and the owner is the one that has a card. And, so we do run into that. We also run into situations where there's like a property manager, or there's like an association that actually handles all of it. So there are different things that you have to run into. And if you're not comfortable walking into that, don't. But that was actually one of my questions to expand on your point, is that like with COVID, when COVID happened, if we were 100% commercial, we would have been gone, because everything shut down. We had no commercial clients because all the restaurants were shut down, or all the different places, all the public buildings and all the different things were completely shut down. So that was my question, or one of my things that I posted in the group chat was, has anybody looked into what happens to our industry as a trend in recessions, based on the news that I've been watching over at least the last week? Everything is pointing to we're expected to go through a recession. So I'm wondering what everybody's take on that, and if they're taking action to lean into that of what's to be expected.
I mean, my experience through economic downturns, I've been in this business for 23 years, so there's been ups and downs, and it seems that on the residential side, it doesn't really seem to make too much of a difference, because people have to fix their stuff. Now, I could see that on the commercial side, and that's not something I'd considered. If you're doing primarily commercial, that's definitely a big problem. But on the residential side, in fact, it seems that people are more likely to repair their product than buy a new one during a recession. Now, I don't have any data on that. That's just been my experience in the business. But I don't know how you could really avoid that. But what have you seen on the residential side, just recession wise? Like you said, during COVID, it was the busiest time we've ever seen in the entire country, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not quite the same as a recession, obviously, but I don't know. The residential side stays pretty strong. I think for the future of residential, as the machines get less expensive and the manufacturers get more restrictive, there might need to be other options available to residential service companies if they want to stay in business long term. Just because it just
my concern, and again, this goes kind of into what happened with COVID, is you also saw a spike in parts availability issues, increase in shipping. Every single one of our distributors increased the price of shipping. The cost of parts went up. And I'm anticipating that to happen too, to where, you know, because of tariffs and different things, you're already seeing huge increases in the cost of vehicles. So our costs are going to go up because if we have to replace a vehicle, that's going to cost a lot more. The anticipation, I believe, is that insurance is actually going to start costing more. Vehicle insurance, homeowners insurance, all of that is going to cost more. And you know, so delay in shipping, increased costs of parts, for sure, or limitations or restriction, like availability of parts is potentially going to be an issue. I'm also, based on the trend of job growth and what typically happens with recessions and different economic policies, what you'll see over generations, you'll see that when these things happen, what ends up happening is that the very wealthy end up buying more assets, and the people that don't have the ability to buy those assets lose wealth. So you have that's how the steadily increasing inequality, wealth inequality happens. So during a recession, what will typically happen is that you're going to have large property areas, people losing their homes, but then wealthy people will buy those homes. So then you have an increase of rental properties, a decrease in value in middle, you know, in value of the middle class, I guess. So that's going to decrease. And then you're going to see, so you're going to have more industry partners. Corporations are going to have more of the assets, as it will. So like you're going to see a lot more rental appliances or things like that. So is anybody renting appliances? Is anybody looking to start renting appliances? Because I have, you know, if you don't own the home or you're renting the property, how many landlord tenant situations are we going to be facing, or how many, you know, property management types of situations are we going to be facing?
I think that's an interesting thought, and I think what you just said sort of leads into saying you really kind of need to identify where your company is and what your market and demographic is, and see what you want to focus on and where that niche may be in the future, right? Because if you're in an area where there's a potential to be a lot more rentals, then maybe that's something you want to look at, right? If you're in an area where that might not be the case, maybe get something else. Renting appliances is an interesting thought. Has anybody done anything like that? And I mean, there's like Rent-A-Center and stuff, but as a service company,
like there's errands and Rent-A-Center and stuff like that. But
I've never heard anybody doing that in a service company.
I'm afraid of roaches.
Yeah, there you go.
You don't want that thing back after it's got roaches in it, you know?
Yep.
So George,
yeah, we've done repair for those centers. I mean, the appliances are still going to be out there. They're still going to need to be repaired, and we'll repair for those centers, but we will not rent the appliances ourselves. You're absolutely right. The price of parts is going to go up, but those parts come from the same place as the new appliances. Their prices are going to go up as well. So the cheaper option is always to repair. And that's what we find in a recession and any kind of slowdown. More people are repairing because they can't afford that new one. Every dollar counts. So even if it's just $100 between repair or replace, repair is still the option they go for. Will we lose some business? Sure. People are tightening their belts. But this business is somewhat recession proof. You just have to watch your pennies.
So what does the rising cost of everything, right? Expenses on our end, insurance and parts and labor and all of that do in comparison with the general trend of the reduced price in new product, right? At some point, those two things are going to come together, and the cost of repair is going to, cost to repair profitably may exceed the cost to replace. And that's something we found in our market in New York. Labor is very expensive. Insurance is insanely expensive. And so we're at the point where we really don't service a lot of the, standardized brand products because we can't do it at a profitable rate and still pay our people and pay insurance and have all of that. So we are focused on certain brands and niches and looking to, grow away from standard brands. So I think at some point, where does that happen? How do you do repairs for a rent-a-center, which I would imagine is renting out lower end products and expecting low prices for repairs. So how do you sort of manage that?
Yeah, you've got to know your price point. You've got to know what your expenses are and where it makes sense. Some places it's not going to make sense. Some repairs it's not, and you turn those jobs down.
Do you see any possibility that some markets might become unsustainable for profitable service just overall?
We haven't so far.
Okay, that's good. All right. That's something that I think about a lot. It just seems like, there's certain, maybe lower income areas that can't sustain, profitable repair rates. But I guess if you have enough ingenuity, you can figure out how to make it work.
Yeah. It's just watching all your pennies, making every dollar. We have to make it stretch just as our customers have to make their dollar stretch.
Yep. Yeah, we just got a pretty big increase in our auto insurance policy, which renews next month. And I mean, like a significantly large increase. So I'm interested to know what other things everybody's doing besides just repairs. David, I know you and I were selling maintenance plans, and curious how that's been going for you, if you have anything to add on that.
No, I mean, it's a great way to add on a profitable product, so to speak, a different line of products that we offer. We love it. It's our base plan is $300 for the year, and it's almost exclusively profit aside from labor. Our technicians love it because it's again exclusively profit. We pay a commission based on the profit of the job. Overall, it's been a nice way to we really push it in the off season, so that as these renew, they renew in the off season. So we have constant work in the off season, work that we otherwise wouldn't have had. I think a lot of our customers are reactive. It's our job as salespeople and people to turn them into proactive customers. And I think that's what the maintenance plan does. And I think that, education is the biggest part of it. Educating the customer, the need to clean that ice machine once a year, the need to clean the condenser coils once a year, et cetera. Every technician on this call can attest to the fact that, 99% of customers say, what do you mean there's condenser coils that need to be cleaned on my refrigerator? And I saw Wendy wince there. I think she hasn't cleaned her condenser coils lately. No, but it's the maintenance plans are a great way to diversify. And like I said, kind of take your slower periods. It's funny, New York, where David's at, and South Florida, where I'm at, we alternate slow periods. So David's slower in the winter because everyone comes to Florida, and we're slower in the summer because everyone goes up to New York. So, you got to figure out where your slower season is and really push it. I mean, it's never a bad time to, add on calls, especially really profitable calls. But we get booked out in our season. So it's almost helpful to push them all to the off season when we can.
Well, that's what we found. So we've been doing this plan for over a year now, selling maintenance plans similar to what you do. And a lot of them have been recurring now during the slow season. So we've seen, I don't know, it's been, a decent amount of recurring revenue every day now this year since we started it. And so, we have a little bit of extra work to keep the techs busy just when it's slow. And I really think that maintenance and recurring services that we can bill for on a regular basis are really a strong, really strong option for residential service and commercial as well, possibly. But
and David, we've talked in the past, you know, if and whenever you plan to retire or sell the business, having recurring revenue is huge in the salability of the business and the price that you're going to get for the business.
From what I've heard from brokers, it typically increases the multiple you can get on your sale, which is a big deal. That can be significant. So who else? Is anybody else doing maintenance? Anybody else want to chime in about selling maintenance plans or any kind of membership or recurring services that you guys are doing?
That was one of the things that I had looked at back at one point when it was just me and I was kind of overwhelmed with work and contemplating whether or not I wanted to stay a smaller operation or grow, is the idea of like a membership program where you can give priority service to your existing customers. I thought at that point, you know, number one, it would be again your reoccurring revenue stream, whether it be a monthly deal, but it also would you know, put you know, kind of cap your customer base. The doctor's office, dentist's office do it all the time, essentially, where they, you know, eventually, you know, hey, I'm full. I've got enough clients and I don't, you know, not everybody wants to be a big operation, and you can be small and make a great, you know, great living in this business. But again, what you always worry about is that steady source of income during the slower times, and that would, you know, guarantee at least you have something coming in during those times. So I know John Blank on his name on the East Coast there, who's on the board, and I can't remember his name, but I know he runs membership programs there, and I think with quite a bit of success.
Yeah,
Doug Shear.
Doug, thank you. Sorry, Doug. Doug, if you're there, I'm sorry. I don't know if you're here or not, but horrible names. Sorry.
So Bo, I know you're getting into selling parts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we're 2 weeks away from opening our parts store. You know, I'm in a little bit different market. I'm kind of, you know, residentially wise, I where I started my business from my house, I live kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so was forced to kind of do the whole fake office thing. I'm kind of basically in the middle of three, you know, smaller areas, and we were, you know, with the cost of real estate going up and up, our fake offices were costing us almost as much as you know, a real place. So we decided, hey, we're going to invest, you know, some money into a small location. I literally have a 555 square foot office that we're going to start selling parts from, and we're not going to compete against Amazon, which I know you're always gonna, but you know, we're gonna offer them quickly, say, hey, you want same day service, you can get it. We're lucky, we're going to be about 35 minutes away from a Marcone distribution center, which we can have parts door dashed. So if you stop in before 11 o'clock, I can have parts there in 3 hours. So we're doing that as a way to, again, offset the cost of the rent for the fake office, because people where we live want local people. Number one search on Google for us is near me. So appliance repair near me, washing repair near me. They don't care if it's a Sub-Zero Wolf, they want local people. So again, this was our way to be local. Whether or not I have no idea how much money we're going to make. For us, it is, I don't feel there's a way to lose money doing it. Just because I think we're going to have a better presence in the community where people can walk in. And hopefully that will increase our service. We're using the parts more to supplement service, but if it's a good money maker, I think we got a good plan to make a little bit of money doing that. Again, I'm not going to sell computer boards to people if they want to buy them. I'm just gonna send them to Marcone online and let them do that. But if they want thermocouple or you know, thermostats and igniters and things like that, I might as well be the one that sells them.
So you're looking to sell to like a DIY or homeowners or something?
I think so. I mean, originally I was kind of thinking, because we're in a market that is half the year is high end, half the year it's residential, because just where we are in the west coast of Michigan, being you know, a lot of vacation people. But yeah, the DIYers, but we also still want to have, if you have a Sub-Zero refrigerator and you need a filter, you can walk in and buy the Sub-Zero filter from us. We're an authorized servicer for all the high-end brands. So we actually do more of that in service, a lot like you, David, that we're kind of leaning more towards the high-end customer. Just because the likelihood of being fixed is much more higher with a high-end customer. If you have a $5,000 fridge or stove, you're gonna spend $1,000 on it to fix it because doesn't make sense financially. So, but the DIYer can still come in and buy an igniter, and you're gonna make 50 to 100% profit on it. If you price it, and if they don't want to buy it, they can go somewhere else. It's just simple. And for us, we don't need to make a lot of money on it because we're just using that as to supplement the income. The guy that's running the store is going to be he's going to be a CSR as well, and he's going to be shipping parts directly to our customers, and kind of give him dual roles. So if he's busy, great. If he's not, he's going to again be supplementing the service part of our business.
Does anybody else sell parts?
Yeah, we've sold parts for forever. And it's nice. We have basically a stock room that mimics our or mirrors our truck stock. So it's kind of serves two purposes is as the guys come into the shop, they can replenish their trucks without us. We can place larger stock orders that way and keep stock on hand for the trucks. And also they happen to be the fast moving parts for DIYers. So we take care of DIYers, and like Bo, we're within 20 minutes of two Marcones, one on the north end and one on the south end of our territory. So we Uber a lot of our parts direct to the customer when they call in over the phone or are here. We find that to give us a competitive advantage over Amazon when we can say we can have it there today. They're willing to spend the extra 20, 30, 45, bucks.
That was kind of what I was going to ask next is, how are you competing? Because there's so many, parts are such a big business now that it's hard to compete with online retailers, whether it's one of the vendors that we work with or Amazon or.
Yeah. And I wouldn't look at this as a way to, it kind of pays our light bill. It's not something to where this is incredibly profitable. We get one or two parts customers a day. You're maybe making, from $10 to maybe $60, $70 on a part. So we're lucky to make, and we've been established in doing this forever. We're lucky to turn $2,000 or $3,000 in profit a month on parts, but it pays the bill. Pays some of the bills, and it's something we're already sitting here. The phone takers and our call takers, CSRs, are all trained in how to look up parts, and 99% of the time they can, jump off the phone, help a parts customer, and then jump right back on. So it's kind of like what Bo said. It's
Yeah, I think it's where your market is too. Like you said, you got two Marcones 20 minutes away. If you're 45 minutes away, I think people are going to be a little bit less likely to get in the car and drive that 45 minutes when, I can have it there. I think you have to know your market. What is who's selling parts in your market? One of my markets we're in has a very long-standing independent guy. He charges full retail to sell Amazon parts. I'm sure that's where he's buying them from, and guy does really well. So that's not a market probably I feel like I want to compete against. But if your market's doesn't really have a good parts store, I'm considering it to be I'm considering a way for us to actually make some money. Not sure what the projection is going to be on it because I really didn't look at it that way. I just wanted to get it open, but I do think I do think there is some money to be made there.
So the ideas that I wrote down for ways that we can diversify would be sales of new machines, installations, sales of parts, commercial service and installations, and maintenance plans. So I know there's a couple of people on here that sell new machines, and I'm curious how that's how that's looking in the current climate and the competition with big box stores and stuff like that. And what is your sort of differentiator there that makes you able to sell a machine versus just going to Home Depot and getting the cheapest one that they have?
Our business started in retail, believe it or not, back in the 40s. We were strictly a retail company up until I believe the 70s. It's kind of turned around. The profit is definitely in service. I know quite a few service companies that are looking to diversify have kind of delved into sales. I'll tell you, it's not the profit center of our industry. We look at it more as if we break even or a little bit better than break even, then we've done well. And I say that just to say we gain a lot of service customers through our sales. So it's almost like an advertising. And also the fact that we're a full service dealer. We sell appliances, we do repairs, we do maintenance, and we sell parts. Kind of a one-stop shop for any of the appliances in their home. So it's a differentiator that we have that no other service company in our area has, which is a full service dealership. And it's something that we sell to our customers. We have it on our website. We have it, when customers ask why they should hire us or why they should buy an appliance from us, we're the only place where we're going to service the appliance we're selling you. So I know George is into appliances as well. I don't know if George wants to explain what he's doing.
Yeah, salespeople think service is a money pit. Service people think sales is a money pit. They're just wasting money. So it's vice versa. I mean, I see Carmine laughing. He knows it's the truth. That's just how it is. If you're not set up for sales, it ends up being a money pit. You throw a lot of money away. You've never done it before. You don't know what you're doing. You end up throwing a lot of money away. If you're doing sales, then a lot of times they're just trying to cover their customers and they're not doing it well enough to be profitable, and they actually throw money away as well, and it becomes a burden on them. So each of, if you do it just right, I feel I do a decent job of doing it right. And, our service side is profitable and our sales side is profitable. And it's, if sales are slow, service is usually busy. If service is slow, sales are usually busy. So, I mean, for me, it's just, the more revenue streams you have coming in, the better, in my opinion. You never know when we're going to have another COVID and you can't get appliances. And so everybody's having to fix their appliances. And you never know when parts costs are going to get too high and everybody's just deciding to throw away and buy new, and then you got to rely on your high end service. So for me, it's just being a well-rounded appliance store. We're an appliance store. We do sales, service, we sell parts. For us, if you buy an appliance from us, we're the factory servicer for every brand that we sell. So if you have an issue, our customer's just calling us. So for us, that's our niche in the market and how we try to separate ourselves from Home Depot, Lowe's, a lot of the independent dealers who don't have service as well. So for us, it's just about being well-rounded and having as much revenue streams as possible. Because we have, at a certain point, you're going to have all this staff, you know what I mean? And like somebody said earlier, the call taker can also sell parts to customers over there as well. And that's helping pay for their salary, so that's all I got.
I'm with you, George. I feel if you can complete the circle, you're doing well, and that's what it's about. Because your costs, I was just talking about this with Alex from Fred's, and in 1972 could have got a Caprice Classic for $3,000, right? I know that because I remember my mom saying that when I was a kid. Now an equal car, you're over $50,000. But back in the 70s, you can get a Kenmore Range with a coil top for $499. Now you might be able to get one for $699. So your prices are so off as compared to, where they should be, but your prices are still going up. So we're in the middle. I'm in the middle of doing a study to look at it. But at some point, the repair is just going to be so expensive that the customer's not going to want to do it because of everything else that hit him. Like David was saying, insurance, you got gas costs, you got all kinds of different costs, and eventually it's just going to go up. So it's a tough thing to have, and completing that circle is what you really need to do. And it's a shame that everything is going the way that it's going. But when you were talking about diversifying, I spent some time with Renai. I think Kate was talking about they do that. Even trying to do, and just from personal experience, you're not considered a plumber, you're considered working on an electronic box on a wall, right? That a lot of plumbers just look and go, I don't know what to do. So it just might, everything's going this way. And it might just be something else that you can look at as far as technology goes, because a lot of plumbers, they just know piping and pressure, and they don't know the internal makings of a Renai or a Navian or any of those type of things, just to kind of diversify. I think connectivity is everything. And when I was talking to Alex about it, getting with a local dealer that you can even, hook up with, that would keep feeding you, the local supply of people, and also being able to maybe even make a profit on a sale if you refer that customer, if you could do that. But George, I'm with you. And he's right though. Everybody looks at everybody goes this way, and hey, 25 points on a sale is not that bad. It's better than no points on a sale.
So, Carmen, when you say Renai, you're talking about water heaters, boilers. What specifically?
Yeah, Renai has tankless water heaters,
Okay.
and you can, certain, depending on where you live, like obviously up in the Northeast, you have to go through every known, union and everything else to go ahead and become, a pipe fitter, things like that. But to work on these things, you need to have a technical background. So it never hurts to reach out to Renai and ask them. I helped them with their commercial. Me and John Carroll helped them set up their commercial that they were running, and you kind of sell your soul to the night. You never have a moment where your phone doesn't ring when you're doing it. Because even during COVID, they were open, making food, delivering. People were picking up. So, but it's just one of those things to think about. When you're diversifying, what can you do to get out there and make some more? And plumbing's always a good avenue, especially when you're dealing with the new energy efficient systems.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. And I recently went to a commercial food service convention down in Atlanta. Spoke to a lot of manufacturers, and I'm on the same point. There's a lot of opportunity there, and a lot of those manufacturers, especially the smaller one, they're struggling to find quality service. There's some issues with consolidation in the commercial repair space for larger companies. And it looks like there's some opportunity for smaller companies to move in and help do service with some of the smaller manufacturers who are really kind of hurting for quality service.
Right.
And kind of like you said, the price points are significantly higher. If they're selling these, speed ovens for $8,000-9,000, restaurant is going to repair it because they have to. They're not going to go out and buy a new one. So it's kind of the same idea, and that's really what got me thinking about the commercial. There are differences and stuff, but kind of along the lines of a water heater, it's a significant expense to replace. So a repair is very likely to be sold, and it's a related technology, so it's not totally out of the realm of possibility for a residential service company to move into that space.
Yeah.
Sort of bring services together is important.
You'd be surprised at how they're looking for technicians.
Oh yeah.
And Kate was right. If you go into a mall, you have to have 5,000. You have to have 5 million, excuse me, in liability insurance. Otherwise, they won't even care to have you even walk in the door. So it is called. And unfortunately, when you do that commercial account with Renai or Ream or any of those, they're going to make you carry that because at one point you're going to go through those doors unless you can carry a short waiver and then run it.
Yeah, no, the insurance is definitely a big consideration with commercial for sure, and state by state varies a lot cost wise. So does anybody have anything to add on that? Commercial, water heaters, HVAC, plumbing? Has anybody looked into related home services for what we're doing?
With those related home services, don't you got to have like a master at least underneath you?
I mean, I guess that varies by state. I mean, plumbing is typically licensed, you know, electrical is licensed, but that's going to be state by state, even city by city, the requirements. But
Sure.
yeah.
I guess I figured it was federal. I didn't know.
No,
No.
You
It's- go ahead. I can
no,
tell
go
you it's
ahead. I
by
was going to
state.
change.
Yeah, no, I can tell you it is by state, most of the time. And it could even by a county if you live in Massachusetts. So, what you could do is, it never hurts to find out who your dealers are, who your tankless hot water heaters are in the area, who the plumbers are that are working on them and selling them, and if they need, help, because they can do all the piping. You just have to fix the machine. So, and a lot of them don't understand that.
Sure.
And I was shocked to see that when I became a pretty good plumber once I started working for Renai. But as far as the technical side, a lot of the people that were out in the field, they struggled to work on them. Ended up replacing a lot of them just because they didn't know.
Well, it's an interesting sort of sweet spot there where you can get into that plumbing space without needing to have a plumbing license, because you're not really doing plumbing, you're repairing
Right.
equipment, which is different. That's an interesting thought. I like that.
Yeah.
I think it's,
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I did that 36 years ago when I started at Sears Product Service. We serviced whatever Sears sold. So besides working on home appliances, I did hot water heaters. I did HVAC,
Lawn and
exercise
garden.
equipment, garage door openers, any tool you bought for your shop. It didn't matter. A water heater, you would talk to the customer. Okay, have you got a flood coming out of the bottom? If that's the case, that's a tank, and you need a whole new hot water heater. But if you just don't have hot water, then you're looking at a burner or a pilot light, or two electric elements, one element, one thermostat, pop off valve, and a tank drain. Everything can be worked on by someone that can work on appliances, except replacing it. That's a plumber.
Stuart, have you looked at maybe utilizing your existing customer database, right? Because we have, as appliance service companies, like a huge database of customers, because it's so much more. Well, so you can utilize your existing customer base to market these other services. Have you done anything like that, or has anybody done anything like that?
Not with Mr. Appliance in particular. I work for the home office. I don't have a branch office. Sears sort of got out of some of that when they stopped specializing. When they were doing Sears appliances, most of the appliances were made by Whirlpool. You had American Yard was making their lawn and garden. So you could stock a truck with most things that you needed. They started specializing when they started working on all brands. So if you know your area, you talk to the builders. What brands are you using? What are you installing? Can give you that leg up on what parts to stock and what you need to train on.
So when Sears was doing that, do you know that? So you're saying the techs were doing all of it? There weren't split techs. There wasn't an HVAC tech and an appliance tech.
No, we were generalists. We worked on everything.
Do you think that's still possible with the variety of stuff that's out there?
Because of so many different brands, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
You have to know your market and know what's being sold in that market.
That makes sense.
One more thing, I wanted to jump a little bit off topic or back to our previous topic. I jumped in a little late. Was anything mentioned about the tariffs?
Kate had mentioned, rising costs of parts, like Bosch just announced a parts increase price.
So I actually see that helping the repair industry. Most of these tariffs looks like they're going to end up on steel, aluminum, the basic materials that go into building appliances. Now it also goes into the parts, but got to realize our parts are a small percentage of the repair. Whereas with an appliance, that is going to be a direct cost passed on to the consumer in a large way because those raw materials are that much more. So, where a washer or dryer goes up by 100, 150, $200, our part to fix it is only going up 20, 30, $40. So we are going to, I feel that we are going to see the repairability of the appliances come up with these tariffs in place. Anytime you see an increase in price of new appliances, the repair side of the business tends to do better. So just throwing that out there. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on that.
That is an interesting thought because you're right. This part price is typically like 20% of the repair cost in general. So if you're just bumping up the cost on that side, that's not too bad. But you could see it trickling into other expenses on our end to increase our overall expenses, which makes it just more difficult to operate, which is going to increase our labor fees to the customer as well.
Yeah, eventually, inflation, if that hits, all of our costs get inflated, but you hope that the cost of those new appliances, again,
if everything goes up, then it's kind of a wash. It doesn't really,
right.
Numbers are higher, but it's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought. Is anybody doing installation as a separate service from?
Yeah, we do.
Sales. Yeah.
So
you're installing just what you sell, or do you offer like an installation service?
Nope. We do offer outside installations. For many years we did not. When I took over the company, I kind of the big reason why they didn't want to do it is because you get a lot of issues with new appliances out of the box, defective appliances, cosmetic damage, et cetera, et cetera. And as an installer, you sometimes get caught in the middle of the manufacturer and the consumer with those issues. When we sell it, we obviously have recourse with the manufacturer because we sold the product. When you're installing what you haven't sold, you kind of get stuck in the middle a little bit. But we've found that, as long as we can show that the install was done properly, we've done our job, that we can overcome that barrier. But yeah, we do a lot of, we call them outside installations, where we didn't sell it. And it's very profitable because if they're coming to you for a installation, it's because somebody wouldn't do it or they don't have somebody else that does it. It's something that I think is underutilized or there's not many people doing it in our area that are doing strictly installations. And I think you find, like, for example, installing a dishwasher, you can get $250 to $300 for a dishwasher that they bought somewhere else to install it. That's all profit. It's an hour job. It's a very, very good profitable job. We do a lot of high-end kitchens that for whatever reason, where they purchased it doesn't do installs. And we'll do the installs, and you're talking for a kitchen $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 just in installation, and it's strictly labor. You're not using parts other than what you've sold them on top of the job. So it's very profitable.
With this conversation and just other thoughts about this industry, there's like the residential repair is one of the lowest ticket repair home services that are out there, right? Like, we're kind of very much on the low end of how much we can charge for service. So these other things, though, like installation and high-end service and other options there, have a much higher, a lot more room for higher margins, right? Because you can charge significantly more for those things, right? So like an install, you're just paying for labor, right? If you're charging $5,000 for an install, was that for a day's work, because you pay a couple of guys, at an hourly rate, so you're making a pretty significant amount of money on it. So I would imagine that's pretty profitable.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So do you see, with what you said about tariffs and just rising costs in general, do you see a possible future scenario where regular machine, your standard run-of-the-mill brands that are very common, do you see a possibility where it might not be profitable to service those at some point in the future?
mean, I see it the other way around with tariffs. Again, it's relative. You know, if you see $100 increase in the appliance and you only see a $20 increase in the repair, that repairability has, you know, it's $80 difference in that decision the customer is making whether to repair or replace. So as far as
that's still kind of a short-term thing though, right? Because
yeah,
I
100%.
point earlier, right? You know, when you bought a Kenmore machine 40 years ago, it was $499, right? That was a significant amount of money 40 years ago. Now the machine is $699, but it's no longer a significant amount of money, right? So it's a $200 price increase over the course of 40 years, but really it's a price reduction if you look at it, relative to everything else. So the appliances are overall less expensive in a certain segment of sales.
They are 100% becoming more disposable.
Right. And that's what I mean. As that trend continues over the next 5, 10, 15 years, where do we see our ability to service those machines in a profitable way? As our expenses go up, and even though the number goes up on the cost of a new machine, overall, relative to everything else, it's getting less expensive over the long term. So,
and machines are getting worse and worse reputations for durability. So, you know, putting money into a repair of a standard, you know, for example, a dishwasher, you know, they break every 5 to 7 years now. And, you know, the cost of the dishwasher is so inexpensive that, you know, it's almost not worth repair for a standard, you know, dishwasher.
yeah, no, I agree. In fact, there's a lot of things that we've even just discontinued service on altogether because they can't be serviced, at least for us, profitably.
Yeah. And every time you walk into a door and condemn a machine, it's not good for our industry. What I mean by that is the more a customer is told that it's not repairable or doesn't make sense to repair, the less likely they are to call you the next time. It's a shitty situation we're in a lot of cases, which is why it's
need to look very hard then at diversification for long term, right? This might not exist the way it does now in 10 years or 15 years.
Right.
So look at all of these other avenues. That seems to me to be pretty obvious that we need to really look at what else is out there to make sure we can have an industry.
I think diversification is going to depend on your market. You know, if you're in a market where there are high end, I think the natural switch for all of us is to go towards, you know, more of the high end appliances. But if you're in a market that, you know, doesn't have a, you know, high medium income and, you know, people aren't buying Sub-Zeros and Wolves, I think you do have to seriously look at something else, whether it be, you know, water heaters or HVAC, or again, expanding upon, you know, maintenance agreements, because the idea of, you know, fixing the, you know, the $500, $600, I mean, these Criterion washers or whatever you can buy at Menards for $500, you know, there's not a whole lot of room for profit on there, you know, from the service end, unless, you know, someone's just going to spend $300-$400 to fix their $500 machine. And my experience tells me those people aren't going to do that.
You know, so then to Kate's point earlier, maybe you know, in markets like that, you might want to look at property management and large scale property owners that you could have a contract with that changes your whole structure and billing and rates and all, but it's something else to consider as opposed to just individual homeowners, especially in a lower income area. Yeah, so who else has some brilliant ideas for how we can make more money besides doing what we already do that we haven't heard from? Go ahead.
Something that I think you mentioned it, David, about like commercial restaurant equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually I think toward the end of Q3 this year, my goal is to start selling and servicing that.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it's really easy to just drop ship. They don't necessarily require a storefront or nothing like that. Have you had experience with doing that?
I mean, I don't have any experience with distribution. We're certainly have been servicing commercial cooking equipment. But on your point there, when I was at that convention, talking to manufacturers, a lot of the smaller manufacturers are also looking for distribution and they can't get it. And so they're both looking for service and distribution of their product. Some of those smaller sort of niche manufacturers that are trying to break into the market. So there's definitely an opportunity there for people who are looking to take advantage of something like that. And you know, what you were just saying, I think is exactly what might work with that type of company.
Yeah, to Tyler's point, we do offer commercial restaurant equipment and appliances through a distributor, and it's just drop ship. You don't need to have any on the floor. Very low barrier to entry. And again, you can just drop ship it to the customer and they can handle the installation if it's something you don't have the manpower for or don't want to deal with. So it's very hands off, and it is definitely it's something we need to leverage more because we definitely don't focus on it enough.
And David, you're then responsible for marketing that commercial equipment for sale, and you just purchase it from the
Correct.
manufacturer and they ship it direct to the customer.
Correct, and we don't
How have you
purchase
gone
direct
about
from-
marketing?
What was that?
Sorry. How have you gone about marketing it?
So that's kind of what I was saying. It's under leveraged currently in our business. We do have it on our website that we do sell commercial appliances along with residential appliances, but we don't market it at all aside from that. So it's definitely an area that we could definitely focus on. I think another reason we haven't leveraged the sales of commercial appliances is because we don't service them currently. We will very infrequently, as more of a favor to an existing customer or, something like that. But because we service what we sell in every other area, it's tough for us to sell something that we won't service. But not to say we can't, and not to say, like David Oliva, we are looking into possibly commercial service. And one thing that I was looking at is possibly hiring a tech that has only done commercial service and bringing them on and growing that part of the company with a tech that already has experience with it and can help train the other guys so we can diversify. David, do you have a plan like that to where you're?
Yeah. So well, not our most recent hire, but one of our recent hires was a commercial tech, and he's been assisting with that. And it's slow growth. It's hard to, at least it's for us, it's been difficult to market commercial service because it's not searched for in the same way as residential service. So you really need to be in with the manufacturer. It seems like pay-per-click doesn't get great results for commercial service. A little bit direct marketing seemed to be okay, but it seems that really where you need to look, at least so far, it seems to me that we need to look at partnerships with manufacturers or larger organizations that will send work to you, which has been where we've made most of our money so far in commercial, is with contracts with sort of multi-location organizations that manage the repairs for the individual locations.
This group's in a great position because you dominate out of all the associations, you really dominate it. And Wendy, you have partnerships with these manufacturers, and it's a matter of reaching out to them and saying, where are your spots that you need help? And we have a service organization. Your service organization is there. So that hand that you can go ahead and provide to spread that out amongst the rest of the service that you have, all the servicers that you have, would really help them, I feel. I mean, and it would help fill the gap. And you'd be surprised. They might even say, we'll do all kinds of training just to go ahead and help. And it's unfortunate that it's going way in residential, but commercial, I feel, is a way to go, and you're going to make good money at it. And that'd be the first thing, identify where the needs are, and then seeing and using I don't know how many members UASA has, but I think it'd be great because they're from what I'm hearing, and even at the shows, some people pulled me aside and said, where do you feel, you're on the sales side of it, where do you feel appliance repair is going to go? And it's so hard to say, but you have to diversify. So this is a great call. This was a really well planned, good call.
Yeah, and not to make any announcements because there's none to make on this side, but it's something that the association is definitely looking at, is ways to diversify the organization as our members start to diversify. So I think everyone needs to stay tuned, for stuff upcoming in ways that the association is going to diversify in. We're not the United Residential Appliance Services Association. So I think that tells you a lot of, where the possibility of growth may be.
And then, yeah, for those of you who are working with those manufacturers and know them, as we kind of put together the sessions we're planning for ASTI next year, the exhibitors we're looking to talk to, please be sure to put a good word in for us, pass their information along to me or to board members. We do want ASTI to keep growing and providing what you guys need and what you're servicing in the field. And if that means, adding trainings, that's what we will do. So.
All right. Well, I think that puts us at an hour here, so I think it's time to wrap it up. I think it was a very good conversation. Definitely, a lot of opportunity there if we're willing to just sort of change up the way we think about things a little bit. But there's a whole lot of opportunity out there, and if we can provide quality service where it's missing, we're guaranteed to do well at it. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Wendy.
Thank you. Have a good one. Be
Yeah,
safe.
thank you all. Thank you all so much. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Bye.